quick before we go live. Will we get flagged
Too
for
late.
using the word hand job?
No, hand
It's
job
okay,
is
it's
fine
you-
in the first 7 seconds.
It's YouTube. It's not the FCC, so we're fine. It's all right. We're good. You could even flash a little nipple ring. Nobody's gonna notice the difference. Janet Jackson would be great on YouTube. It's fine.
Wonderful.
I mean, we're not monetized yet anyway, so
Yeah, nobody gives a shit. Nobody's gonna give us money. And I got a ping. We're live.
Yeah, I
look
see us.
okay.
I see us.
All right, GP, whenever you're ready.
All right, 2 seconds. I gotta reorient my phone so that chat can be on there. Hi guys. Okay. Okay, we're good.
Yep.
It's getting nice and steamy here today on Press B to Cancel. Today on.
Thank you.
Don't laugh over the intro.
Did you guys know I'm hosting a Press B to Cancel episode today? It's the first time since probably this time last year. I could not be happier. And I know we normally do the introductions, but I just wanted to flex for a minute and point that out. So everybody, welcome into Press B to Cancel, the show where the points are made up and the hosts don't matter. So with me today, my good friends, Sick Jake. Say hello, sir.
Going?
All right, wonderful. And Sinistar.
Hello. Now, Chard just called us Judases, but I'm gonna earn some points back because I'm gonna say good evening, Jake.
Oh, look at that. Sinistar loves that DP, man. I've never seen somebody.
You're muted,
Look,
Jake.
I muted because I was trying to do something, and now you distract me with a vile concoction in front of you. As for audio listeners need to know, he's sipping back a Dr. Pepper in a bottle, no less, not even in a can.
Okay,
Disgusting.
can you show the bottle real quick? I'm not saying you have to show the label, but look at the shape of this bottle. I don't know if anybody else remembers this, but for whatever reason, Dr. Pepper tasted better when the top half of the thing was almost like a rounded triangle or like a cone, I think is the technical word for it. Do you guys remember when Dr. Pepper's had the cone?
A boob
Cone
with a
of
nipple.
shame?
Huh?
A-
No, not the
a
cone
boo-
of shame. It was the DP cone. You know what I'm talking about, listeners, viewers, nobody. Anyway,
Yeah, raise your
was-
hand if you're familiar with the DP cone.
that's
Anybody?
my DP. Anyway,
Anybody? Yeah.
Important point of fact before we jump in: there are 3 of the 5 hosts here today. We did that on purpose, of course. Every now and then, people deserve a week off. Hell, I took 48 weeks off in a row, and we do this so that if there's any voting that needs to happen for anything, we at least have what is called a quorum, or a majority of the hosts. So, guys, if you decide you want to change anything major about the outlay or overall workings of the channel, we can vote on it tonight and it'll count.
I just keep making sure that I show up because I know you guys are going to vote me off if I'm not here.
No, that's not absolutely true.
We can't replace you with a hat. No, we cannot.
A Shahatner.
I could mail it to someone.
So
wouldn't get past the border.
if it's not immediately clear to everybody what tonight's discussion is about, it's supposed to be about the Steam Deck, a handheld job that we have lovingly. I think 4/5 of us own a Steam Deck. I'm the only one who doesn't really know anything about what it is. In fact, I'm fairly certain that Sinistar holding that up is the first time I've seen one outside of Marco Polo. So well done. I am going to ask you all to very basically sell me on why I need a Steam Deck, because I'm a big fan of the handheld jobs. I love my Game Boy. In fact, my wife has kind of been enjoying since Christmas a resurgence on her Game Boy. She's been collecting, and there's some really cool mod kits for Game Boys as well to upgrade those. And anyway, not what the episode's about, but we're really getting back into handhelds. So I'm really excited about this episode and to find out what the kind of evolution of these hand jobs are like. So let's get to it.
Sounds good. I can go ahead and start if you'd like.
Tell me,
Sure.
like I'm 5, what's a Steam Deck?
Okay, so you're familiar with the Nintendo Switch, correct?
Yeah, it's by Nintendo.
Okay, so imagine a Nintendo Switch that is for primarily Steam, for Steam games, so
Okay.
PC games. But in an ecosystem unlike Nintendo, they actually want you to have control. They want you to be able to hack it. They want you to be able to replace hardware. They want you to be able to do whatever you want. They want you to have ownership of the device.
So you're telling me I could play Mega Man 11 handheld, not in front of my PC?
Yes.
Yeah,
Sold.
totally.
Everybody that's been pressed me to cancel. No, I'm kidding. But that's kind of the bare bones of it, right? Is
Yes.
it's a handheld computer that
Yeah.
is basically designed for gaming from your Steam library.
Yeah, so I'll show it on for those that are listening. If you want, you can either look it up or watch the footage. But basically, much like the Nintendo Switch, you've got your regular ABXY buttons. You've got two analog sticks. You've got a D-pad. But throw on top of it two touchpads that have haptics, so they vibrate, they respond to feedback, etc. um, you've got a nice large screen, and we'll talk about that in a minute because
Yeah.
the screen on mine is actually slightly different than the one that Jake just got, and we're going to talk about the two options that you can get. But basically, and then inside, it is genuinely a a PC, as it were.
Mm.
Um, it has, for those that are familiar with there's kind of two major um, processor providers. There's Intel and there's AMD. It has an AMD processor. It has an AMD graphics card in it. It has a decent amount of memory. It has replaceable disk storage. It has a micro SD slot. Um, but I mean, the primary thing is basically you can play your Steam library out of the gate, and with a little bit of work, you can play pretty much any PC game.
Yeah, that's the shocking thing is I thought it was more of a restricted device, but no, it's really not. Pretty much everything outside the latest greatest AAA titles, everything else works on it just fine. I think
And even
part of that is
most of
though.
the most of the latest and greatest AAA titles.
Still work, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, people when it first came out in 2022, I mean, that was the year of Elden Ring. The first thing people did was throw Elden Ring on there. Does it run at 60 frames? No, but it runs at like easily 30 at the time. I think it's even better nowadays. But it's
Yeah.
an interesting device, and it does more than you think it would. And I'm always surprised. Like since I've gotten it, I got it for my birthday, and since I've picked it up, it's been surprising me every time I turn it on with what I can get away with running on there, whether it's new or old. You had mentioned handhelds and hand jobs, GP.
Well,
One of the
okay,
reasons why I
don't make it
didn't,
sound so, the handheld jobbers.
we don't want to get
Yes.
all steamy in here.
I'm
One of the
hearing it
reasons
now.
why I
Yeah, I'm hearing it
didn't
now.
buy a device because so Sinistar, Wolf, and Chart have had theirs. I think since 2022 or it started last year, right, or 2023.
I got mine in December, a year ago, December. And Chard and I
Okay,
got ours literally days apart. We ordered them essentially the same day, and because he's closer to Valve Central, he got his like a day before mine.
okay, and then Wolf got his a few months after, I think, for Christmas, right?
Chard saying
Um,
2022.
2022. Okay. So you guys have had it for a while, and I was real tempted to get one for the longest while, but I put it off. And one of the reasons why is because I've done the
Microphone.
handheld route before. Like I'd recently bought in the Retroid Pocket, which is a little Chinese handheld device for retro games, and it does everything up to Dreamcast, although not so great. But I kind of figured that's what I would mostly play on a device that was like this. I wouldn't really do much modern games. I didn't think it could run modern games in a playable way, and it wasn't until I really took a hard look at it, I realized no, you can run Elden Ring, you can run Monster Hunter World on it. I even got Guild Wars 2, which is in no way controller friendly, but I got to work on the Steam Deck pretty awesome because the input choices on there. So it's been running everything I could ever think of putting on there. It's been fantastic. But I put it off mostly because I didn't think I would use it enough, honestly. So it's interesting how I've changed my mind on this.
So on top of that, let's touch a little bit because we are a retro podcast. So on top of that, the modding ecosystem, right? And when we say modding, I'm not talking necessarily specifically game modding. I'm talking like even hardware modding or operating system modding or whatever. Um, the modding community has basically taken this and said, okay, so this is just a computer, running just a computer operating system with a Steam overlay that makes it nice and user friendly. Let's create a whole bunch of tools, and one of the best tools out there is called EmuDeck or EmuDeck. I don't know how you pronounce it, but EmuDeck is how I say it, and it installs essentially every emulator. I think up to like a PS3 emulator.
It includes Switch, it includes Yuzu,
Yeah,
which
sorry, Yuzu, and
not that
Okay,
we
but does it
condone
include
piracy, but
does it include the 64? Because the 64 is like
yes.
yes,
notoriously difficult for games to
it
for
does,
systems to
but it
emulate.
has the same notorious problems.
Okay.
The notorious problems with the Nintendo 64 are less about the hardware that they run on these days, and more that the emulation of the hardware is still very difficult to do. It's funny, I talk about one of my favorite Nintendo 64 games. We coming up, I'm going to shout out Superpod Saga podcast. We did a number of us did a guest appearance on there talking about the 5th generation consoles, including the Nintendo 64. And I referenced that one of my absolute favorite games is Dr. Mario 64. What's
Mhm.
really surprising is that is a 2D game that is constantly poorly emulated in, and it carries over. So when if you
Okay.
want to look at the Nintendo 64, expect what you get with pretty much all of the others.
Yeah, I haven't messed with N64 ROMs on the Steam Deck yet, but I've done SNES, Genesis, Switch, Wii U, Wii have all been fantastic. I've been playing Rhythm Heaven, which is a Wii game, and it requires a very low latency screen and really responsive controls, and it does that perfectly. I've not tried the
Jeez.
N64. That is interesting though, but I mean, you're right. Like the N64 problems are it's not exclusive to the Steam Deck for sure. But it runs everything really well. Like the one of the issues I had with my Retroid Pocket when I put a front end on there, because when you're going to put retro on a handheld device, you usually want to put everything on there. You want to get all thousands of ROMs, and you want the images, and maybe you want videos and all that junk, because you want it to look nice when you're scrolling through those games you'll never play. So if you're like me, that's what I've done multiple times already. But EmuDeck does it in a way that makes it a hell of a lot easier. It does all the files and BIOS for you. It when it download, it has a scraper built in that pulls the images and videos for you if you want them. It actually does a nice feature where it downloads the picture of the cartridge, the box art, and the screenshot, and then it creates a PNG of them matted together, so you can delete all the individual files, and it massively
Oh,
saves on space. So anybody who's done a custom handheld with or a custom emulation set with Launchbox or something, you know how much
mhm.
space the metadata and the images take. EmuDeck is fantastic with which is compressing that down, and it's also, I think, a package you can get on Windows. It's not necessarily exclusive to the Steam Deck, but it runs
Sure.
really well in the Steam Deck, and it was a seamless process, honestly, to get
Uh,
everything running.
Before we
Okay.
move, I want to call out that, the 1200 ROMs that I have for my Nintendo Entertainment System, keep the 20 that I play company, okay?
Yeah. You don't
It's
want
a
them getting
village,
cold.
really.
You've
Yeah.
gotta huddle them together. I
It's
get
like
that.
chickens in the winter. When they sleep, they stay alive by huddling together. Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you guys
But
remember that time we all played Shredder's Revenge together?
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Is that something that you could do on this sort of platform?
Oh yeah.
Split
It
screen
Absolutely.
and
runs
connect?
fantastic. I've already tried.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So it
Yeah.
does have internet capabilities.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, and that's the thing is it is a PC. I mean,
Mhm.
there you can actually switch to the PC desktop. You can get out of the game mode, and if you have a dock with a HDMI cable and a USB, you can plug a keyboard and a mouse in it. You could use this as your regular computer. You could
Sure.
daily
Yeah.
drive this as your regular
Wow.
computer.
So that was
So
another
the
point where
docking is not an issue. Okay.
I wasn't
No.
quite sure if I wanted one, was because it doesn't run Windows. I mean, it could if you really wanted to, but out of the box, it runs Linux, a flavor of Linux. And then it has a game mode, which is basically Steam Big Picture mode. For anybody who has Steam, you probably use Big Picture. But then it has that desktop environment. But it runs on Linux. And I'm one of those guys for years. I was told, Linux is great, use Linux, you don't need Windows. But I always held back because it couldn't run the games I wanted to play. But Valve over the last 10 years has been doing so much for Linux gaming. And I know it's not just Valve. There's a whole community of people pushing
Well,
gaming on Linux. But it's been
Valve
fantastic.
Valve, just to give a little history on that, there's been a couple Um, Windows emulators, the kind of the big one that comes out is called Wine. Windows, I don't. Wine is not an emulator, I think, is what it stands for, but it is an emulator. Well, what it is it's actually a translation package. So what they did is a lot of the. I'm going to get a little technical. I'm going to try to make it a little less technical, but basically every single call that software can make to the Windows operating system is documented. And where you run into copyright issues is not taking that call and making it work. It's copying the underlying code so that it basically is a duplicate of that. So what people did with Wine is they said, okay, so let's say I make a call to draw a pixel on the screen. I know how that's called in Windows, so I'm going to take that. I'm going to basically make it so that it works in Linux the way that it does, and then we'll just go with it. So it's not technically an emulator; it's a translation of basically how system calls work. And so Wine did that for years and years and years. The problem that they ran into is gaming software is particularly hard to write those translation layers, and that's really where Steam stepped in. They created a product called Proton, and Proton is a translation layer between the operating system and the graphical hardware in particular, but obviously other pieces, but like 3D accelerators, GPUs. You've heard of them as GPUs, Guy Prime units, and
Absolute unit.
yeah, exactly. But that's really where Steam came in. And this started. Jake wanted to talk about this. This is a good segue. They started with what they called Steam machines years ago. They
Yeah.
actually built these console devices or had other companies build them, but they basically created the software. They used Linux, but created the software underneath the Steam API, and then they had other manufacturers create these machines,
Yeah.
and they failed. But this
Well,
is actually, yeah. Go ahead.
so how did they? I mean, yes, as a concept of people making these machines to do consoleized version of PC gaming, maybe that part failed. I'm with you, but that was when we had a shift, right? Before then, the idea of playing games on your PC, it meant a desk, it meant a mouse, and it meant a keyboard. Sure, there's controllers, but a lot of the time it was joy to key or other some janky software or drivers they had to mess with. It was definitely not a seamless experience until we had Microsoft bring in X input and whatnot. Like I remember when I first bought a bunch of Xbox 360 controllers when there was finally support for Windows on it. And a lot of that drive to use those controllers on a PC was because of the concept of Steam machines, because with it, Valve brought in Steam Big Picture mode. Big Picture mode is where it takes the Steam window, blows it up to the 10-foot interface so that you can navigate with the controller. And that was huge for
Yeah,
gaming on a PC on your couch. And that's how I like to play PC games for years, was because of that shift. I didn't have a Steam machine, but I definitely bought a small desktop computer and I made it a media PC, and I exclusively just to play games on Big Picture mode on Steam. I think I linked Kodi in there as well as a non-Steam app, just so I could pull up my video and media. Like I heavily used a PC on my TV. I got rid of cable, and it was just games and streaming and Kodi all on that fake Steam machine. And it was a huge shift because of Valve, I think. So I think in that it was very
yeah.
successful.
Well, and that's really what Steam has done. Valve. That's really what Valve has done is
Yeah.
they've taken a number of concepts. So Steam machines, the Steam Link, the Steam controller, they've had a whole bunch of these hardware products that they've taken all of the pieces that worked and they've condensed it all down. And now we have a
Yeah.
couple different items. We have their Valve Index, their 3D hard or their 3D
VR.
VR hardware,
Yeah.
and the Steam Deck. And I mean, they basically took everything that worked and it's that fail fast or that fail into success, right? Like your best
Right.
way to success is to determine your failures and learn from them, right?
Like the Steam controller
So,
especially was probably not a successful product for them sales wise, but it opened up the idea of like a very customizable controller that let you play games on PC that didn't necessarily have controller support, right? Because it had trackpads on the Steam controller, so it
mhm.
made games like Civ and real time strategy games possible on a controller. But whether as it failed as a device commercially, they use that tech, like you said, on the Steam Deck, right? So when we look at the Steam Deck, these haptic trackpads, I mean, they were circles on the Steam controller, but these are basically the same technology. They even feel the same. They even sound the same. But the
Yeah.
concept of triggers in the back, that's what the Steam controller had. The buttons even feel the same. Like there's a lot of DNA in the Steam controller that's in the Steam Deck now, and you can see where they pull it from. It's fantastic. So they've
Could,
built on their concept over the last 10 years, whether they're successful or not. They've made it successful now, which is
Yeah.
great.
would you mind holding that back up and then tilting it forward? It looks like a beefy little machine, but then if you tilt it forward, it doesn't look like it's very thick at all.
It's probably about an inch thick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like, never mind.
So I have a Switch.
Does
I
it
have
feel
I
pretty
have third
sturdy though? I mean,
party.
at any point, do you
Oh,
feel like you're gonna crack the
no.
screen by?
No,
Yeah.
this thing is rock solid. It feels, I mean, and it's it's heavy. It's heavy
Yeah.
for what it is.
Yeah.
So
It's
let's go to some basic stuff real quick. I love everything you guys are saying. I'm very interested, but I want to talk about button placement and
Yeah.
ergonomics here. So
yes.
obviously
Yeah.
the controllers look very comfortable. Having the two, not the D-pad. The D-pad's way up there in the corner, not the trackpads, but right above there with the analog stick. Those being on the same level, just on opposite sides. Do those feel like they're well placed, or is that kind of a chore to
Yes.
get to those?
Yeah. Now I'm gonna call this out because Chard's in chat, and so we're gonna have a fight in chat anyway. But
His votes don't
uh,
count. It's us three.
There you
right.
go.
But one
Quorum.
of the things that I like about the Xbox 360
No,
controller,
no,
now I know that they're not, I know
next.
that they're not on the same plane, but the left
What a
control
great
stick,
controller.
the left control stick fits my thumb. My, like your thumb shouldn't be down here curved and bent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and that's the way that the Steam Deck is it, I mean, it feels when you hold on to the D-pad, it's, or it's exactly where it needs to be.
Well, it's
Yeah.
completely symmetrical, except the
Yeah.
D-pad on the left side and the right side is the
Yeah.
ABXY, which is fine, which is great. I haven't seen a mirrored controller like that in a while. It's kind of gone out of vogue,
I will
and
be
so
honest with you.
Mhm.
The ability to move from the right stick to the buttons
Mhm.
is actually less clunky to me than other controllers where you have to like pull your finger down, right?
Yeah,
So
I've gotten so used to that kind of
Right.
configuration, with all that. So to see everything lined up, that I know I've gotten completely used to my
Yeah.
Switch Pro controller. So I'm kind of always like, I don't know how to really explain it. If you know, you know. But yeah,
I hold it like this.
what do
Well,
you
no,
mean I
but
have
that's
arthritis?
what it is, right? With the
Yeah.
Switch, like I mean, another reason why I didn't want a Steam Deck is because I did have a Switch and I was playing a lot of games on the Switch that I would have played on the Steam Deck. But I have carpal tunnel and I got a lot of hand pain and holding the Joy-Cons. Like I mean, I showed on video. I have some third-party Joy-Cons on my Switch, but they're basically the same button layout, and it sucks to hold on to them and press them. The buttons are too small, no matter what control I use, and they're in an awkward placement. And on the
Yeah.
Steam Deck, it looks weird being at the very top of the device, but it has to be because it is a chunky boy. It's thick. If you don't
Mhm.
have the buttons at the very top, then the balance when you're holding it would be off. So it's interesting they put it at the top, but it was definitely designed very smartly by having up there for in terms of balance when you're holding the device.
Yeah.
It's definitely not something I
Now,
want to lug on a bus all the time, though.
I
A
also
couple of
want to
points.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, I wanted to call out one more thing about specifically button placement and the
Mhm.
grip. One of the things that drives me nuts, and Jake has solved this with his third-party Joy-Cons, but about the Switch, is the thing is the holding on to it, you're holding on to a
Yeah.
wedge, right?
Yeah.
This, your hand holds on to it, how it's, how your hand grip, for
Yeah.
those listening, I'm showing the grip on the Steam Deck.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It looks great. So, two things I'll say. The reason that I mentioned that about the grip and the button placement, you guys know, I'm big into speed running, and I've gotten used to with the retro games very specific movements in my memory, which I
Mhm.
understand it's not going to be the same. But as I've gone back and played things on the Switch that are from the classics library, it's harder to initiate those kind of things. That twitch movement because of the button placement. So not that I'm wanting to
Right.
speed run things on, but it's nice to know that the translation is going to be there for the older games.
Well, and the
So
great thing too
that's
with
why
the Steam Deck is it's using Steam, and Steam is
Mhm,
done amazing stuff when it comes to customization of controls. I mean, that's why I was
mhm.
able to play. I mean, playing Guild Wars 2, which for those who don't know, it's an MMO. You got a hotbar, you got like 8 skills on there. It's various things to do, but there's enough controls on the Steam Deck, and with the Steam software, you can customize every control. There's actually a control for it's a capacitive touching of the joystick. It knows when your thumb is on top of the joystick,
Yep.
so that can be a button, that can be a sensor, that can be a trigger, all within software. It's something they pulled from the VR controllers. Again, another example of what Valve has taken from previous hardware and has kind of melded it together to make the Steam Deck. But the idea of everything being there customizable is fantastic. The track pads, I used to use them on the Steam controller. You can make that as an like an on-screen menu that pops up when you put your finger on the touchpad. So there's controls can be customized however you want for any game. It's not like the Switch where if you want to can change the controls on a Switch, if the game doesn't have that built in, you have to go to the menu and change the controls for everything in the system, and it messes you up. It's a lot more customizable in Steam.
Can I just call out? I
But
have on my Switch. I reverse A and B because Nintendo, for some reason, thinks things are backwards. But
Yeah.
um, but I reverse them, and every time I power on, well, every time I bring my Switch out of sleep state, it tells me my buttons are configured differently. Do I want to keep that or not? Every time.
yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm with you. I had to do the same with because we have like I said, the throwback libraries or whatever on the Switch. So when we purchased the whatever for the 64, playing GoldenEye, I mean, geez, whoever thought? And I understand it was probably just an attempt to sell more of the Switch in Nintendo 64 controllers. But if you're using a Pro controller for the Switch for GoldenEye, you've got to redo the button mapping. It's absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
Well, I
Anyway,
mean, you have to
yeah.
have 3 hands to play GoldenEye.
And I do, but I don't have the controller anymore. At least not the one for the Switch. So,
Yeah,
Yeah, this is
and
the
sorry,
original.
N64 was special like that, in that even
yeah,
today there's just no controller like the N64 controller, and it just you're right, it is hard to emulate. Like I have the arcade stick behind me. I recently got an analog mod for the joystick on it, and I
mhm.
did it because I wanted to play N64 games using that an arcade stick. But I trying to figure out where I should put the D-pad buttons, where I should put the C buttons, and having it work across games. I thought I had it down until I freaking spun up Turok, and then I realized how awful some games just
Yeah,
play on the N64.
yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
Okay, so yes, back to the Steam Deck, the giant pile of Steam Deck.
I honestly feel like the control, the placement, I it feels very well thought out. I'll be
Yeah.
honest, the first time I saw it, I thought to myself, well, I'm not going to buy that device because like I thought, the placement of the buttons were going to be uncomfortable, and now that I have the thing, it feels natural. It feels incredibly natural. So,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I am considering buying one, but the first immediate thing that comes to mind, other than Mega Man 11, which was a Christmas gift, thank you, Sinistar. The one thing I would love to play on the go that I've never been able to do is the Final Fantasy randomizers. And
Yeah.
I just think that would be great to be able to sit on my couch, be like, I got a few minutes, let's put in free enterprise and get it going. I would love to do that.
Yeah.
So the fact that you can do that kind of shit would be
yeah.
And
amazing.
the battery life on retro is amazing,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like the
Oh
one
yeah.
thing with a handheld is that you're always struggling with the battery life, and when you're playing modern PC games on it, on the version I have, I get maybe 2.5 hours with Monster Hunter World, which is a pretty graphic intense game. But if I
Mhm.
play retro on it, it's hours. Like it's quite a
Okay.
solid battery for retro.
Yeah,
And
I
then
honestly can go a couple days between charges if I'm just playing retro.
Yeah.
are there this is kind of weird, but are there like do you have the capability for downloading things from probably not iOS, but if you're an Android user, like could I download some piece of shit like Marvel Snap, for example? Or is that
You mean a potential game of the year for 2022, Marvel Snap? It just so happens, yes, it does work on the Steam Deck, and there's a few things why it works really well in the Steam Deck. One is that it has the trackpads, which mimics a mouse, but it's also a
sure?
touchscreen, which I didn't realize how good that would
Oh,
be. But it's a touchscreen, and there's an on-screen keyboard if you want to use it that way. totally works with Marvel Snap. The only issue I had when you're in the Steam, the game mode, and you're installing Marvel Snap, and if you have to log into your Gmail, it
Mhm.
pops up a browser window to type in your password, and it actually warns you that this is not a legitimate browser. That was weird. I had to go to
Yeah.
desktop mode and load up Chrome and then log in there. So it was a bit getting that to install was a bit tricky. But that's the thing with this. I mean, the Steam Deck out of the box, it works with anything in Steam for the most part that is marked as Steam verified, which is a shocking large number of titles. But even if it's not Steam verified, odds are you can probably get it working if you're willing to get your hands dirty for 10 minutes and go into desktop mode. And Marvel Snap is one of those.
And
Okay.
the internet community is very friendly on this, and there's guide after guide and guide, or guide after guide after guide. There's YouTube channel after YouTube channel that talks about ways to do things. Even if you're not familiar or comfortable with a Linux desktop, it's a Linux desktop that's very close to a Windows kind of desktop.
Yeah.
I mean, just a few differences, but it'll guide you, very closely. Even if you have to like open a text terminal and do a few
Yeah.
commands, it'll just say open it and run this command.
Copy paste this. Yeah. And there's a thing called heroic launcher. There's a couple options of doing it, but if you go in the desktop mode and install heroic launcher, that lets you install GOG's launcher, Epic Games launcher, all kinds of sort of things. So like I recently the Yakuza series went on sale on GOG for like ridiculous percent off, like 80% off. So I picked it up. But I'm like, man, I would really like to play this on the Steam Deck, but I don't want to buy them on Steam when I have them on GOG. Well, once I installed GOG on the Steam Deck, it adds the game to the game mode whenever I spin that up. So it's been pretty easy to get the games from GOG ported over, and Epic Games is similar. And I just installed Battle.net today. I haven't had a chance to mess with it.
Mhm.
I'm hoping to play Diablo 4 to check out that new season, see if it's worth picking up again. But
I've
pretty
been
much
playing
anything you want to
Diablo
run goes
2
on
on
there.
it. I've
And
been
it works
playing
great,
Diablo
right?
2 remaster on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's awesome.
God,
Yeah.
This seems like kind of a dream machine for people who travel quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
for
and
sure.
that's the other thing. Other than sitting on my couch and doing a randomizer, something that typically I could only do on my PC, I just think we fly, we drive, we travel so often that it would be nice to have access to multiple platforms and multiple everything uh, over the road.
The only thing I think to keep in
Yeah.
mind is the battery life. The battery life, I mean, it's like the Switch in a lot of ways. And if
Mhm.
you are playing a more modern game, like I keep bringing up Monster Hunter World because I've been playing it a lot, I get
Mhm.
2.5 hours of battery life. If you have the LCD version, I think it's about 2 hours. But even games like Valheim, which may not look like a modern game, I know it has a retro aesthetic to it, but because it's running on the Unity engine, I believe it just sucks power. There's ways to hack things, lower the battery draw, and tinker with it if you really want to. But out of the box, a lot of games will only get you like 2.5 hours. So you got to keep that in mind.
Well, I tend to pause games frequently because I'm driving, so I think I could probably make it last.
Yeah, and the nice
No,
thing
okay, horrible
is
joke. Sorry.
okay.
There it is.
Gotcha. I missed it.
Sorry,
I
that fell
missed it.
flat.
I'm with you now. That was
Yeah.
I'm laughing on the inside.
Can we edit this in post? Should I give it another run?
No, we're not editing anything.
No, we'll keep going. Okay. We don't have the budget for post. What are you talking about?
We'll just take the
I got 3
laughs that are
kids, GP.
happening.
I don't got time.
We'll just take the laughs that are happening right now, and we'll just
Yeah.
transpose them
Yeah.
over.
In front of a live studio audience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
it was a Steam Deck or a microphone, not a Steam Deck and a microphone.
Yeah, I really
love
did
you
love
so
that
much.
microphone one.
But
Yeah,
the Steam Deck does have microphones on it.
it does.
Which,
Yes.
yeah, I saw that in chat earlier.
Yeah.
I believe it was Sinstress was saying that, and then Chard was asking if it was hard to handle if you have smaller hands. Now, we have it well documented and recorded that Sinistar has giant mitts. I don't know if you can tell. My hands, thumb to pinky, is only about 2.5, 3 inches. So I got these tiny little guys I'm working with. So I'll let you know, Chard. If I buy one, I think I need to. Spoiler alerts, I probably will. I don't know how immediate it's going to be. I guess I've got a couple big questions I'm going to save for the end, but I'm pretty sure I could play like Silver Surfer on this. Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my God,
Absolutely.
Silver Surfer with the
It'll be
trackpad.
wait. You'll actually play Silver Surfer finally?
I should do it. I should pick it up and actually get through it once in my
Yeah.
life.
Okay. Yeah. I've heard people speedrun that game. Maybe you could get in on that.
No, I don't see that happening.
Yeah. That'll be one of the 20 ROMs that are kept company by the thousands that just hang
Thousands of
around.
games.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's a
So,
sickness, really. I have to stop myself. How many I put on there that I'll never play. Maybe I'll play Mahjong in Japanese someday, maybe, but it's there in case I want to, including a screenshot for some stupid reason.
what are we
Yeah.
missing? We've talked about graphical capabilities, controller setup. We've talked about the
We
bonuses.
should
What am I
talk
missing?
about the differences between. So the
Yeah.
thing with the Steam Deck is, so it came out in 2022, and again, this is another reason why I didn't buy one originally, because I was worried that it would be released and kind of Valve would kind of forget about it, or they would release. My worry is they release a brand new one a year later. But they came out and said they're pretty committed to the Steam Deck as it is now. Though they're looking at a future Steam Deck 2, whatever that may look like, but it will not be for a number of years. They're not aiming to build a new one like an iPhone every year. They don't want to be that kind of company. But they did release a small update. The original Steam Deck was an LCD model, and they released an OLED version, which is what I picked up.
Yeah.
So I think, Sinister, I think you said you had some stats between the two.
Yeah. Now it's not as small a change as you would think. While they were refreshing the display, because the primary changes, they went from LED, an LED back to LCD, right? Which is what, most monitors are, different things like that. They refreshed the screen to what's called OLED. And OLED has OLED has a much better brightness, contrast ratio. The viewing angle is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
The color accuracy is actually 110% accurate. You may ask how that works, but what there is there's a definition of what's accurate, and if you're at 100%, they call it sRGB accurate. If you go beyond that, you actually have it's accurate to what the actual color spectrum is, and they basically say this is accurate enough. This is 100%. Most people's eyes can't tell beyond that. That actually has an accuracy of about 110%. So
That's
the
wild.
OLED actually has it has better battery life because it consumes less power in certain ways. They also increased, and this is kind of cool how they did it. So Jake, you were holding yours up, and let's see here. So if you look, the bezels are kind of big on the original. The black border around the screen.
Yeah.
If you look at yours, once it comes up, you're going to have less bezels. The actual glass is the same size.
Yeah.
So all of the screen accessories, so the screen, covers, etc., continue to work as they should. But it's instead of a 7-inch display, it's a 7.4-inch display on the OLED. With a better battery life. They also increased the refresh rate from 60 hertz to 90 hertz,
which is actually pretty huge, I gotta
yeah.
say.
Now, don't. I mean, the thing is on a display this size, and when you're traveling around, even if you turn down the settings to 30 hertz to save battery, most of the things don't look. They don't look like it doesn't feel like you've slowed things down and made them worse. It's
right.
And then but the 90 hertz is sweet.
Yeah, like the refresh rate is interesting because like this is the year where I just finally got a new monitor that is not 60 hertz. Like I had a 60 hertz wide display for years, and I just got one now, and I think I'm running 120 on my monitor. And once you have it, it looks nice having the higher refresh rate, but it's not critical, especially for handheld, right? Like. And when I look at the screen, it's OLED screen. Is it a nice screen? Absolutely. I mean, I have a Samsung phone, which has an OLED display. So when you see the black level, like if you have a black web page, it is black. It doesn't have that off gray that some LCDs do.
You don't see the lighting behind it.
Exactly. But I mean, like I almost saw it on a Switch, and I mean, I don't have a Steam Deck. I don't have the Steam Deck with the LCD display to compare to, but I compare my OLED screen on my Steam Deck with my Switch. The Switch display is still a really nice screen. The LCD is not bad. It still looks fantastic.
Sure.
It just the OLED there is improvement. It's not. I mean, I can't say it's not, but for me, it's mostly the viewing angles and the black level looks really nice. Yeah. But it's not a must-have.
They did introduce HDR. And I don't know how familiar you guys are with HDR, but basically high dynamic range. So that's part of the blacks that he's talking about. Is it actually turns on the brightness for only the areas that are showing non-black, right? And so blacks look like blacks, where an LCD or an LED, the backlight is kind of always on.
Hmm.
So they did increase the battery from a 40 watt hour to a 50 watt hour.
Yeah.
And then they
Which
also
works out
actually
to
changed.
be so works out to be so I've read online about this for folks who are playing Monster Hunter. For most people on the LCD Steam Deck, they get 2 hours, and with the OLED
Yeah,
version, I get 2.5 hours.
yeah.
And
Um,
then, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, one of the other big questions that I have, if we're not done with the current topic, of course, don't let me skip ahead. If there's more that you all want to make sure everybody knows, what are the attachments like? Are there any peripherals? Are there any? I mean, part of the staples in the history of handheld gaming is things that you can add on to improve it. Does this have any, or does it need any?
So there is, well, I'll hold this up. So let me unattach it from the power and stuff. So they have a dock. So this is a Steam Deck dock, Steam Deck dock. Say that 17 times fast. So, but the way that the Steam Deck is laid out, you'll notice it doesn't connect here. It
Yeah.
actually just takes the little cable and plugs into the top. But it has, your HDMI, it has your display port, it has your hardlined Ethernet, et cetera, et cetera. So that's an official accessory.
So
All of
while
them.
while you're
Go
doing
ahead.
that out, so you also don't have to buy the name brand dock. I wanted a dock that worked with the Steam Deck, but also worked with Nintendo Switch because I lost my Switch one while I was moving. So I actually bought this one from Gilly Kit. It's cute.
Oh, cool.
It's designed
Yeah.
after SNES, but
Mhm.
the angle can be adjusted based on the device you're using. It has all the
Oh,
ports in the
cool.
back. And this, I tested it today. I just got this today. It works with the Switch, although the Switch has to go upside down for the cable, which is kind of weird, but it works. It docks no problem, and of course, it works with the Steam Deck.
Yeah, you don't want to have
So
docking issues, so that's good.
yeah. So you specific. So I have the official Steam Deck dock. You'll see the Steam Deck logo there. But what's interesting is I have for my laptop, I have a little dock that's from Dell. You'll see it says Dell on it, and it has a little cable, and it has all of the the connectors in this little puck. This thing
Mhm.
works fantastically with my Steam Deck. Works
Okay,
fantastically.
not a
So
sponsor.
not a sponsor. So you can literally go buy a USB-C dock, and
Yeah,
99 out of 100 is probably going to work with the thing.
Okay.
yeah, because it is
Um,
basically a PC, right? So any PC, like anything USB, will work with it. Like I've used my fight sticks; they're no problem. They work with it. Any mice, keyboards, like it's everything you could think of that would work in a PC will likely work with the Steam Deck. It's pretty good.
yeah.
Okay. So then,
Um,
yeah, kind of the follow-up question there is, which I guess you guys have already answered, but if I wanted to do non, built-on controllers, if I wanted to plug in like a USB controller, so
mhm.
you can always do that. Okay.
Absolutely, you can do that. You can also do Bluetooth controllers.
Yep,
Mm,
wireless.
okay.
And it has support. Funny enough, I took one of the other greatest controllers, the Switch Pro
GameCube.
controller,
That's a
Hmm.
good one.
Switch
Yeah,
Pro controller, right?
it's the same one I got.
And
Oh yeah.
and I connected it via Bluetooth to the Steam Deck, and it actually identified it, and it even reversed all of the buttons for
The
me
way you
so that it
wanted it
matched.
to.
No, it actually switched it. It said at the beginning, it's like, do you want to run in Nintendo mode?
Yeah.
And it would reverse A and B so that they
You
were,
bougie
yeah,
bitch. I love it.
yeah. But um, every single one of them comes with a case.
Mm.
Now, Jake, I think you got the new case that's the two-parter.
No, so
No.
Oh,
there
okay.
is a couple of versions. When they released the OLED version, there's two. There's the
Mm.
standard version, which I got, and I think my case is much the same as yours. I think actually it is the same. I think the color is different on the
Yeah,
logo,
you got the
but it's one
OLED.
piece.
You got the OLED
Yeah,
orange. I got the
You can
original
tell it's the
blue.
OLED because the black is black.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
But if you get the expensive OLED version, they have like a special edition model, and like I give Valve credit because another company out there, Analog, they make a lot of FPGA consoles, and I can't stand them because it's
Mm.
always the FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. And they have this thing called the Analog Pocket, which is a handheld FPGA device. It looks beautiful, and I wanted one for the while, but whenever you want to go to buy one, it's never in stock. And anyway, I forget where I was going with this, but but it was just the I'm so angry at analog. But the special
Sponsor us,
editions.
Analog.
The problem with analog and their special editions, everything's a special edition, and it's always selling out, and you can never get one. Valve out of the gate said, "Look, we have the standard OLED version, we have the special edition OLED version. Pretty much anybody who wants to buy a special edition, just put an order in, and you get it." They just kept the window open for an extended period, so anybody who wants one can get one. And it's got a translucent shell, and it's got a 2-part case, which is kind of nice. So it's interesting.
So
Okay.
that was going to bring me to the third party talk, right? So,
Yeah.
um, so like Chard has a really nice case protector that kind of wraps around the whole thing, comes around. It kind of mimics this line here, so that it has a little drop protection. There is who is it that makes the D brand makes
D-brand, yes.
a hard shell that actually has an attachment backing to it, and you can do things
Yeah.
like you can attach like USB batteries that you can carry around, you can attach kickstands, you can attach all sorts of different stuff. And then on top of that, so first I'm going to talk a little bit. Valve, unlike say Nintendo or say Sony, they want you to be able to repair this yourself. So
Yeah.
they worked with iFixit. You can buy every single part. You can buy the buttons, you can buy a motherboard, you can buy a display if you crack the display, and they have guides and you can replace it all yourself. Now you can go get support if you want, but if you're that person that's like, I'm just going to fix it on my own. So because of that, there are groups that sell translucent colored shells. There are groups. I actually replaced my control sticks with
Yeah.
Hall Effect control sticks. So these are both Hall Effect control sticks from a company called Gillikit.
So for those who don't know, if you've had Joy-Cons and you've experienced drift like a bunch of us have,
Oh yes.
Hall effect joysticks don't necessarily have that problem because of the way they're designed. It's not a new technology. They moved away from it to cheaper analog sticks on the Switch and the PS5 and Xbox, to be fair. But Hall effect sticks are really nice. So I don't have that replacement on my Steam Deck. I'll be interested to see if I end up with drift on my sticks. I don't think I'm going to, though. I think it's going to be fine. I think Valve has put more into the design side of this
Yeah.
device than Nintendo has.
Well, and what's slick
Wow.
is if you do get a little drift,
I can
if
replace it.
if you want to go through support, you can. But if you want to go spend
Yeah.
$20 on iFixit and buy an original,
Yeah.
PCB, you can.
It's
I've
even a
opened
small
this thing.
detail as sorry, Sinister. Like if you ever had to take apart a Joy-Con and you realize that Nintendo has this habit of using special screws and you have to get a special screwdriver for them, you don't have that problem on the Steam Deck. They use standard
Yeah.
screws, and it says something about a company that's willing to just like, hey, we want you to open it if that's what you're going to do. You're going to void your warranty, but if you're going to open it anyway, we're going to make it so it's at least easier for you to do so, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I've opened this 3 times, I think. I have replaced the hard drive, which is just a standard SSD hard drive, a standard M.2. So I have a larger hard drive in this. Yeah. I mean,
That was
so
going to
as
be
far
another
as
follow-up
go ahead.
question was memory. Sorry. Yeah. Like, what's the standard memory that comes in that? And then, of course, you can upgrade by cracking it open and replacing things, or is
Yeah,
there SD card capabilities, things like that?
there
I
is.
mean,
There is.
where
So
we at?
SD card goes down here
Hmm.
and it uses the new SDXCs, which are nice and fast. So funny enough, I've noticed most games run about the same speed off of an SD card or off of a micro SD card as they do off of the hard drive. Um, as far as the stock, you can purchase these. They used to have a base model that was 64 gigs, which is kind of
It's
small
bigger
in these
now.
for these
Yeah.
days, right? But now the base model is 256 gigs. You can get all the way up to 1 terabyte model.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
they are all the same. The only difference that they have done between the versions is the size of the hard drive, and then the top tier gets you a anti-glare screen, which I have on mine. But otherwise, like my youngest bought the cheapest one. We ordered him a larger M.2 hard drive, opened it up, replaced it, and he just
Yeah.
ran with it.
So understanding that nothing we've talked about, none of the companies we've mentioned today are sponsors or anything like that.
Yeah.
Where can you buy these? I am sure you can get them through, of course, the Steam sites and all of that. Are
Yeah.
there any brick and mortars that carry them? Any big box stores, anything like that? So I
Not that
feel
I
like I've
know
seen
of.
these. This is probably way out there, but I swear I feel like I saw a display for these at Best Buy once.
No, but there's
I'm
there's
gonna
other
look at my
companies that
mine
are
house.
making handhelds to compete with the Steam Deck. They're mostly Windows based. Like there's
Okay,
the ROG Ally. MSI has the Claw coming out. So there's other handheld devices that are kind of copying the model that Steam is doing, but they're
got you.
mostly focused on Windows. So you might have seen those. Those are for sure available in brick and mortar stores. But I mean, I ordered mine on Steam, and I actually ordered it basically during Christmas week, and I got it
Mhm.
in 3 business days. So even
Wow.
during the holidays, it got here before I went away for the weekend. Like that's pretty wild considering I'm also in Canada. I'm nowhere near their head office, so I was pretty
Wait,
amazed with
what?
shipping.
That
I know.
accent, I thought you were Texas,
Yeehaw.
y'all. Um,
Yeah, it seems
okay.
like their production has ramped up because I think Chard and I
Yeah.
waited maybe a little under a week for ours, and Chard lives a handful of blocks away from Valve's headquarters. Um, Although I think they actually ship out of like Illinois or something like that. So,
Mm.
but no, it's I think it's buy on Valve site only. They do have refurbs though that you can buy now.
Yep.
Oh, shit.
If you want to
Okay.
go the cheaper route. Um,
I do.
Well, and like the cheaper version is what is it? It's 256 gigs. That's pretty good
yeah,
size LCD model, and that's $500 Canadian. That's a
Mm.
pretty good price for the device you're getting, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's a great device for the price, especially when you realize you can get. I mean, you can get a 512 gig SD card for not that much money on Amazon. So you combine that with the onboard memory, it's more than enough. So
Okay.
OLED is nice, but the standard base model that's out there now is a great deal.
yeah.
Okay. Um, I've been sitting on two questions in particular I want to save for the ending. So before we wrap up with those questions, are there any other facets or areas or anything that you all want to mention that I and everybody else listening and watching need to know?
I want to call out that um, everybody that I've talked to that either we've convinced to get one or has gotten one on their own has basically said the same phrase that is absolutely worth it. Actually, I
Yeah.
would take that back. I heard one person in another streamer's chat that said, "Oh, I bought it and it's just been collecting dust." And that's like the one outlier. So
Really?
oh
Huh.
yes. Uh-huh. So
Like,
but
yeah.
and Kay Schaefer says on the toilet more like it, not the couch. That's true. That's true. This is, just don't drop it while you're in there, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
like for me, like I get buyer's remorse for gadgets more often than I want to admit. And I jokingly put a post on Twitter a few weeks ago when I got it, where I said, like top devices things I bought over the last 10 years with no regrets. And one was the Mister FPGA. Then there's my CPAP machine for sleep apnea, and then the Steam Deck. Those are the three things I bought in the last 10 years that I've had zero, and I mean zero regrets. Like for me personally, with the Steam Deck, why I love it so much. I mean, I work from home, which is great, but I mean, and I spend at least 40 hours a week sitting at my desk, sitting at my computer, Monday to Friday, sometimes on the weekends. So like I'm at my desk way more than is healthy and way more than I want to be. The Steam Deck is mobile. I can play in bed. I can go play upstairs on the couch if I want to. I can sit with the kids while they're watching some stupid show. I'm so sick of Bluey, honestly, but or
You
Muppet
mentioned your
Babies.
kids and they're not on your buyer's remorse list. So I'm like, wait a
No,
second here.
well, we don't buy our children. Well, maybe they do down there. I don't know. I don't know how Texas does things,
Storks,
but
my
serious.
friend. Storks.
Storks. That's how it works. But
Sure.
in terms of like playing games, I've actually been playing games again because like I have a backlog. As we all do. I mean,
Mm.
we have a tradition with the Sisyphean games because we have backlogs. I actually
Yeah.
feel like I could do my backlog, at least some of these games this year, because I can play games, up in the
On the
kitchen
go.
for
Yeah.
10, 15 minutes. And I mean, it
Yeah.
suspends the gameplay so
Yeah.
well. Like I've been playing through the Yakuza series. I'm playing through Yakuza 0, which is a game I've been wanting to play for years, but I always fall
Mhm.
off it because I don't want to sit at my computer for more than 30 minutes. But now I
Yeah.
can play it for 30 minutes in the toilet or in the kitchen, suspend it, go do something else, hop on the couch, play for another 30 minutes. Like it seamlessly plays games like that. and the battery is not a hurdle. It's such a fantastic device for just playing games. I really
Yeah.
do like it.
I wish I could get in and out of the bathroom in under 30 minutes. So, well done on that one. Sounds like you're very
You
healthy.
and I have the same problem with our, with having to primp and prep our hair.
Oh no, I was talking about long shits, but that's fine.
Oh, oh.
God, and that's how I know it's time to go, fellas. So the two questions I've been sitting on that I wanna. Okay, so if I were to invest in one of these, could we start playing Ark again? I think that'd be a lot of fun
I think Arc is verified. Hold on, let me double check.
because
You
that's
can
I
get you
would
on
be
Valheim, GP. I need somebody to
Yeah,
play Valheim with me.
actually, I was gonna say if you're interested in Arc, we should get you into Valheim. Let's see here. Where's my Arc? Where's my Arc? There it is. Arc. Let me go to the store page. All right. It is verified for the Steam Deck. Arc is.
I miss those days. It's been a
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah.
And then
Since your very first attempt, I took you into a cave that was much too high level and just got you murdered.
Oh yeah, the good old days. That's how I knew we were friends. Because who would
Yeah.
want to invite somebody to a game they don't know anything about and purposefully get them murdered? So
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other question is, will it run Doom?
Well, I mean, it's not a pregnancy test.
Yeah.
Right.
But it
Right.
does okay. It does okay.
Okay. It
Actually,
has the capabilities, is what we're saying.
yeah. Funny enough, the newer versions of Doom as well play very well on it.
Yeah.
As does the original. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say you were probably gonna ask what the price was, but you went a different direction. But
Well, Mr. Jake was talking about the Canadian dollars, which I think if it's
Yeah.
500 Canadians, about $83, $84 American.
so
If
the
I'm
base
remembering the
model
Celsius to Fahrenheit conversions.
The
Go
Happy
ahead,
Meal
sorry.
price. It's great.
the base model is $400 US.
hmm
The mid tier is $550 and the top tier is $650. So
Yeah.
but I mean, remember that you're not just getting a Switch, right? A Switch is
Right.
just a Switch, right? All I can do is play Switch games on it. Like everybody was waiting for Netflix on the Switch and all of these things, and nothing, because it was on the Wii and all that stuff.
You're right. The Wii could play it, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but with a Steam Deck, you are getting an actual computer that runs the front end for Steam games.
Actually, that's a good point because one of the things that I love lately I've been playing is Microsoft's Game Pass, which has cloud streaming, or NVIDIA GeForce Now. Both are cloud services where you stream games to your device. You'll never be able to play those on the Switch. I mean, like Microsoft would love to be able to put Game Pass on the Switch. Never going to happen. You can totally do that on the Steam Deck and it would run just fine. Like there's even an app for GeForce Now. So if there is a AAA title like you want to play with all super, ray tracing and all its glory, you could run it on GeForce Now, no problem on the Steam Deck. That's pretty awesome.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm sold, I think. No, I'm sold.
It is.
There's no downside here. There's no math. I mean,
Yeah. Well, the
price
downside
point,
is the cost of
yeah.
entry is a downside, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But
But,
the library is already bought and paid for.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When it comes to
Yeah.
my Steam. So I mean,
Yeah. Like how often do Nintendo games go on sale? Fucking never, right? I mean, how many games you bought on sale on Steam and you've never played? Probably a lot. So
Yeah, how often do you look at a game on Steam that's like 80% off, right?
Yeah.
Where like with Nintendo, you're like, oh look, they gave me $10 off. Like, cool.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And I don't want to,
Guys-
again, I don't want to advocate for piracy. Piracy.
No, yeah.
But
no
I have
privacy
tested
anybody.
Yuzu, and it's kind of a joke that I can play. Like I played Metroid Dread. I mean, I have Metroid Dread and Tears of the Kingdom on my Switch. I played through them on the Switch. I have evidence. I have receipts. Okay, I bought them.
Mm.
They run okay on the Steam Deck on Yuzu, surprisingly, and it's kind of a joke that it runs so well. Enough that when Switch 2 eventually comes out this year, I think that's the rumor, I don't know if I want one because I've been happy playing the mobile experience I get on the Steam Deck. I don't think I want to deal with a Switch at this point, not a handheld one anyway.
Well, let's be clear. You actually can emulate games that you own. Let's be clear
Yes,
about
you
that.
can.
So
it's totally legal. Yes.
So So all 1,000 ROMs that keep the 20 I Play company, I
I
own
own
every
all
one
of
of
them.
them. I
Yeah.
own all of them.
I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, fellas, we've reached our hour
Yeah.
for our therapy session. Is there anything else we should throw in there before we do our salutations?
I just want to say
Uh,
that I don't want anybody who may have bought a Steam Deck and they've got that LCD model think they need to sell it and get an OLED model. I like the OLED screen. I like the extra 30 minutes of battery life. Totally not necessary. It really isn't. I would, if you do have the original Steam Deck, enjoy it, play on it, and maybe in 3, 4 years when they release Steam Deck 2, that's when I would look at another one. I wouldn't replace it with the OLED version. I don't think it's worth doing that. But if you're going to buy one brand new today, I would probably spend the extra 150 to get the OLED version.
Yeah.
that said, anybody that wants to buy a gently used LCD model, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right on. Very
Hit me up
good.
later.
Right. Yeah. We'll negotiate some stuff. Okay. Very well. Before we log off, Jake, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you and what you're up to lately?
So so I did buy. I'm
Oh,
on Presby channel, and
sorry.
so what?
Sinstress asked a valid and good question before we continue on.
Oh,
And that
sorry if I
is,
missed
can
it.
you just get the OLED screen and replace it? And the answer, sadly, is no,
Is no.
because it
Yeah.
requires a different motherboard, which then would basically require the different control stick, circuit boards, and everything. So
Yeah.
you'd have to basically replace all the guts.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though they took care to keep the same like shell and whatnot, so most accessories will work with the OLED version. There's a couple exceptions. The Gilly Kit Hall Effect joystick, for example, does not work on the OLED model. You have to wait for them to do one that's for the OLED version, which I'm sure
Yeah.
they're going to do because it's why not. But yeah,
Okay.
so you can find me on the Presby channel. I've been working on a video. I did buy an analog joystick mod for my arcade stick behind me. I'm turning that into video and installing it. There's a lot of swearing and a lot of cursing, so I have to edit it. Also realized it didn't work with the PCB board I had, so I had to buy one. So it's a process. So I'm slowly hacking that video together soon, and I'll put that up on the channel when it's done.
Love it. And Sinistar, what have you been up to? Where can people find you?
So what I've been up to is I've been working like a madman on my Sisyphean game. You know what, while we're sitting here, I'm going to pull up my Steam library here, because in the last 2 weeks I have put in 35 hours
Fuck.
Wow.
You and Chard
into Witcher
both, man,
3.
are going to beat these
Yeah.
games in a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
VIP.
Well, and honestly, there's a part of me that kind of wants to, because I the challenge is not just Witcher 3. Witcher 3 is the requirement to prevent the wheel of pain, but the challenge is really to get over my problem with open world games, right? And so
Mm.
I'm going to move on to some other open world game and make sure it's not just Witcher that I enjoyed so much, that maybe I figured out an algorithm to actually love open world games. So I've been
Final
working on
Fantasy
that.
2.
Is that
GP, what was your
It
game?
is. Final Fantasy 10.
Have you started
NHL.
it yet?
I looked at the cover for about 20
Okay.
minutes the other day.
Okay, so I don't feel so bad because I haven't installed Street Fighter 6 yet, so I haven't even started. Meanwhile, Sinistar and Chard are like 30, 40 hours into their their games. I wonder where Wolf's at with his. I have to find out.
yeah.
Now I'm in my head. I'm like, I wonder if I could take off the month of December from life, not do any of my Sisyphean game until December 1, and then be like, all right, everybody, here we go. Let's do this together. And
December
bust it out.
31st at
December to
11:59.
remember. Yeah.
That was my plan with Chrono, but then I decided to do it anyway.
Yeah.
No, I've been playing that like mad. I do want to call out, because even though I'm not streaming, and I'm gonna stump for my wife here, Sinstress77 has been streaming on Twitch. She just made affiliate.
Woo
She
woo.
does Mondays and a decent amount of Thursdays. Go join her for some chill games.
I
And
was
yeah,
follower 99 on her channel, which
wow.
means I was the last follower that really didn't mean anything. So that makes me happy. It's good to know. It's a good feeling. But yes, wonderful shout out. Everybody go follow that channel, which was one more time.
Sinstress77 on Twitch.
Woo woo. Love it. And yeah, I'm here on Press B with the boys every chance that I get. I appreciate you all selling me on this, answering all of the hot questions that I had and people in chat had. And yeah, if you're not following the channel, go ahead and do that. We're also streaming simultaneously from time to time on Twitch. So you can find
Working
us
on
there
it.
as Press B to Cancel. PressB2Cancel.com, and you can find the podcast version on all the major carriers. So we certainly would appreciate any love that you can show us there. And until next week, everybody, this has been Guy Prime for Press B to Cancel saying, yeah, what's going on there, Sinister?
Our plan is the Press B Game of the Week or Game of the Year next week.
Next week, yeah.
That's our plan. Unless things change, next week, Game of the Year for 2023.
Really feeling
it.
Marvel
I'm
Snap
very
this year,
excited.
guys. Really feeling it. We'll wait
I
and
don't.
see.
I just, all right. Well, I'll save the words for next week. But yeah, very much looking forward to how heated and angry that's going to be. So everybody, thank you again for checking us out. Go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna kibitz my pick already. Lord of the Rings, Gollum, the Precious
Can we mute
Edition.
him? Can we mute him? Can we kill his mic? That's what
Too
we
late.
need. That's what we need. Okay, going into the next year, we need everybody to have a little panel that has the other 4 members on it, and then we need to be able to give people the ability to mute other people's mics.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Let's
I
love
trust
okay.
Char with that kind of
Anyway.
power. I don't think he needs that kind of power.
We're retro
Well,
podcast, so we'd have to deposit quarters to make it happen. We have to
nice,
have
I like that, yeah.
a little like coin slot, and we have to like katunk and then like select who we want to mute.
It's on brand, especially for our little opening ding 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 ding. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
All right.
With all the love in the world, cheers. Press B to Cancel signing off. Bye, everybody.